you look at the Palestinian claim, the Palestinians, there's no indigenous to the land. There's no indigenous to the land. The only indigenous to the land is the Palestinian whose origin is Jewish. So throughout time, they converted to Islam. And this person, or these people, I think they're 20% of the Palestinians who are originally Jewish, I believe, more or less, they changed their identity, not the identity of the land. Tomorrow, the whole of Saudi Arabia can become Buddhist. Mecca is still Muslim land. If you change your religion, you change your identity. You don't change the identity of the land.
On one side, many Islamists will tell you that Israel has no right to exist, even it was in the size of a stamp on the seashore of Tel Aviv. Jews should be Ahl Dhimma, means dhimmis, people who live under the auspice of Islam. Jews have no right to a state. Jews are ghayaru wa baddalu, means they forged and changed the Holy Scriptures. Jews are la'nat Allah alayhim, means the wrath or the curse of Allah rests upon them. And all these things which they can quote from the Islamic sources. Therefore, Jews today have no right to anything. Maybe they can live under the auspice of Islam according to the rules of the Sharia, of the Dhimma. This is one side. On the other side, there are people in the Islamic, many of them, and Imam Tawhidi actually, I would say, resembles them, who say that Israel is a fait accompli. It's a fact of life. We are not going, or we're not willing to sacrifice ourselves in vain. Egypt tried, and Jordan tried, and Syria tried, and many other tried. And Israel is invincible. So, according to the Islamic tradition, there is a way to make peace with entities which are too powerful to be defeated, as the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave peace, temporary peace, to the infidels of Mecca in the year of 628, the Hudaybiyah peace. Okay, he violated it later. But in principle, the Islamic nation is not a suicidal nation. It can live alongside with problems like infidels, like in India, in Japan, in China, in America, in Canada, and in Israel as well, and Europe as well. So this is the gap between the ideology, which Jews have no right to anything because of all these reasons, and the other side, on the other pole, is that Jews are fait accompli. We cannot erase them. We tried in 1948, we tried in 56, we tried in 67, we tried many more times, and they survived. So let's live with this, rather than, as we say in Yiddish, brechen the Kopf, break the head with Israel. So, one day Allah will give us the opportunity and the power to get rid of Israel. Okay, so we'll do it in the future. And this is what the Islamic movement in Israel is saying. As long as Israel is here, Israel is too powerful to be defeated. So we make the best out of this situation.
No Imam who really reads history will believe that Muslims own that land at all, unless they have other agendas or they're employed by a mosque that wants to push that narrative, which sadly is the majority. Andrea started the session by labeling me as one of the Zionists. I'm not a Zionist in the political term. What I'm doing is called Zionism in the Western world. I'm just being an honest Muslim to myself. I'm not going to take land that is not mine. My land is Mecca, Medina, and the holy sites in Iran and Iraq. That's mine. Jerusalem is not mine. If it's mine, I'll take it from you, and I'll fight for it the same way I will fight for Mecca and Medina. I'm a religious man. I'm true to my religion. Jerusalem is not mine. God told me in the Quran, the land was given to the Jews. So I'm not going to take it. Not now, not even on the day of judgment, not even if there's a caliphate, I'm not going to pray there because it's not mine. Because I'm honest. There are many reasons why someone can be like this. One could be, I'm not dependent on any waqf to give me a salary. I'm not afraid of, I have security. I can speak. We have a saying in Arabic, if you're soaking in water, you're not afraid of the rain. So there are many factors why. There are tens of imams, and I'm not bringing anything new. What I'm doing, Mordechai knows very well, is not new. Tens of imams in many languages have said what they say, what I say before me. I just happen to speak it in English, therefore I get some attention from the West, but not bring anything new. Many scholars from the earliest years of historians have disputed where Jerusalem is and if the land is ours or not. The fact is, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not a Jew, and the prophets before him were Jews. So where are their lands and where do their nations live? I mean, even the Christians. Jesus was a Jew, and to us, he's one of the prophets of the Jews. So where's his land? We can't claim all of it. So clearly, anyone who's honest will not claim what's not theirs just because we believe Abraham was a Muslim and Noah was a Muslim and Solomon was a Muslim and David was a Muslim. So we must claim all. It doesn't work like that in the real world. It doesn't work like that. So I'm an honest religious Muslim, and I would like to live my life honestly. Again, I can sit here and I can play the victim card and I can cry Islamophobia and I'll make you all sound like oppressors and claim everything for myself. But I'm not going to do that. I have no reason to. I have no reason to. And again, you cannot harm me and you cannot benefit me. So telling the truth is just the right thing to do. So I do not wait for Israel's destruction. And, we were waiting. It would make no sense to continue waiting because nothing has happened so far. The Arabs and the Muslims have lost every attempt at wiping it out. And they're divided amongst each other and killing each other. So to think that I'm going to reach the average age of human life, 60 years or 70 years, and think that I'm going to witness a Palestinian state from the river to the sea, that's nonsense. And Clearly, even if there was a Palestinian state, they would kill Muslims like me. So why would I wait for the day that they would establish their state? Again, what Dr. Mordechai described was excellent. But I guess there's a religious element of the scholars who I would rank way below them. You have the muftis and the ayatollahs and the supreme leaders who know the truth, and they taught us. And I find no harm in sharing it. Now that's that aside. Coming to your question about whether or not they could ban the Muslim Brotherhood, it can ban the Muslim Brotherhood. It can. You have many countries that are exploring banning the Muslim Brotherhood. For example, America started the conversation. They haven't done it yet, but if that's the number one democracy in the world, why there are actual lobbyists and think tanks and strategists who are working in this direction, and all of them believe in democracy. I don't think the issue of the Muslim Brotherhood is about democracy, letting them speak or not. It's about charters, right? What makes a democracy special? The constitution. These guys have their own constitution. They have their own agenda, and they're telling you, this is what we want and what we want to establish in your country, however way you like it, through elections, through conquest, through population, will increase in population, whichever way it comes. This is the constitution we're going to get at the end of the day. So in reality, it's not an issue of democracy. It's an issue of national security. Terrorism and the threat comes in many, many ways. It doesn't just come with a bomb. It can come through many, many ways. And that's why if you give $1 towards a terrorist cause, you can be charged with terrorism under the Terrorism Act. If you give $1, these guys, they're giving not only $1, they're giving everything they have, and they're telling you, we want a global caliphate which will wipe everyone who's not like us out from it. So it's clear terrorism, but it's tolerated as though it's their political beliefs, and the West is the oppressor because we came to their land. And what you see today from, again, I believe I've earned it to say this, from the white people. We keep telling our white friends, you cannot treat these guys like white people. They don't have your values. They don't think like you. They plan hundreds of years ahead. So I don't think they can immunity from being banned in democracy. Because I tell you what, these are just labels. The UAE has more freedom than many democracies around the world, especially when it comes to free speech, especially when it comes to what you do and how you dress. And many of these countries in the Middle East are places where the Westerners would love to go and live and work and relax and so on, get away from the trouble in the West. So even though it's not a democracy in the UAE, it has the features of an open democratic society, in the sense that the state will protect the bar and the nightclub the same way it protects and serves the mosque and the religious place and the synagogue and the church, and it builds Hindu temples. It has those features, and they've banned the Muslim Brotherhood, and they're Muslim just like them. They're Sunni, and the Muslim Brotherhood are Sunni. Yes, there are some sects differences, but they're like them. Same denomination. Why? Because it's an issue of national security. It's not an issue of minorities, not an issue of free speech and freedom of belief. This guy tells you he wants to kill you. Not now, maybe in 100 years. He's introducing the movement. There's only one way to ban it. It's as simple as that.
I think you've raised something incredibly important that the West has kept resisting or rejecting. Do you want to respond, Dr. Kedar?
Well, I have only one comment about what the Imam said. If I quote, the Imam said that Jerusalem for him doesn't mean much. Actually, after Mecca and Medina, he has the holy places in Iraq and Iran. I believe you, Imam, you mean Najaf in Karbala in Iraq and Qom in Iran. Well, this is a well-known Shi'i approach because Jerusalem was sanctified by the Umayyads, the Sunni Umayyads, who actually were the biggest enemies of the Shia. And since the Shia knew that the sanctification of Jerusalem was only in order to undermine the centrality of Mecca and Medina, the Shia did not follow it traditionally. Only after Khomeini came to power 42 years ago in Iran, the Shia started talking about Jerusalem. Yet they didn't cancel the sanctity of Najaf, Karbala, and Qom, but they are those who invented the Quds Day, the Jerusalem Day. And Hassan Nasrallah, for example, is another kind of jihadist. He actually is riding this wave of anti-Jewish message connected to Jerusalem. So this is only just a comment about the things about Jerusalem, because don't forget that the sanctification of Jerusalem in the 7th century by the Umayyads was, I would say, fake news of those days. By declaring that the Isra and Mi'raj, means the night journey of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was to Jerusalem, was fake news, because originally the Al-Aqsa mosque, which is mentioned in the Quran, not Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa was not in Jerusalem. In the days of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Al-Aqsa was near a village named Ju'rana. It's between Mecca and Taif, like 20-something kilometers from Mecca. This was the real Al-Aqsa. But after 50 years since he died, when there was a rebellion of a guy named Abdullah ibn Zubayr in Mecca, he did not let the Umayyads come to Hajj. So they say, okay, we don't need Mecca. We'll have our own place for pilgrimage in Jerusalem. And they invented the idea that Al-Aqsa, which is mentioned in the Quran, is actually in Jerusalem. So this whole thing is about fake news of the 7th century, which the Shia did not buy. And this is why Imam Tawhidi says that for him, Jerusalem doesn't mean much more than Cairo or Alexandria or Damascus or Beirut or any other town in the Middle East.
Al-Aqsa does. Al-Aqsa means everything to me, but it's not in Jerusalem.
It's not in Jerusalem.
Exactly.
The original Al-Aqsa is in Jordan, according to many Islamic historians and geographers. Okay, but today the Muslim Brotherhood, are pushing the idea that Al-Aqsa is in Jerusalem, and it's not only the mosque in the southern part of the Temple Mount, it's the whole Temple Mount, which is a new thing. According to the Jordanians who were occupying Jerusalem until 1967, according to maps which the Jordanian government produced, the Al-Aqsa is only one building in Jerusalem, in the Temple Mount. Now, today, the Muslim Brotherhood and their followers, the Palestinians, saying that the Al-Aqsa is actually the whole Temple Mount, 144 dunams. And I already started hearing that people relate to Jerusalem entirely as the Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is the new thing which started last May. I won't be surprised if in 2-3 years it will become a common knowledge.
So what do we do to reverse it now before that happens?
It's a lingual issue, Dr. Mordechai. It's a lingual issue, I may. They're using the word masjid, which means mosque. It doesn't mean mosque. It's translated to mosque. Masjid means the place of prostration where we put our heads where we bow down. So that area is called masjid, the place of prostration. They say, because the Prophet said, جُعِلَتْ لِيَ الْأَرْضُ مَسْجِدًا وَطَهُورًا, the earth has been made for me a place of worship and purified, therefore the whole earth is a masjid. But the holiest of these masjids is the Haram, Mecca, Medina, Al-Aqsa, and so on. They're playing with language. playing with language, because the Quran doesn't say that. The solution is in the Quran. The Quran says, "Alladhi barakna hawlah." Praise be to the Lord who took his messenger, his servant, from Mecca to Al-Aqsa, from the holy mosque in Mecca to Al-Aqsa. That's the verse of ascension that we believe in the miracle of the Prophet, to Al-Aqsa, whose surroundings were blessed. So clearly it existed and it had surroundings, and it's not a place of prostration. Otherwise, why not Las Vegas? Why not Japan? Why are you claiming Jerusalem? If it's a place of prostration, the Prophet said the whole earth. And that's why Shia Muslims, we don't pray on plastic. We pray on a clay stone, on a clay rock, because we can only prostrate on the earth and what comes from the earth. Leaves, whatever's not processed. We can pray on leaves, we can pray on tissue, or we can pray on clay, on rock. That's fine. Why? Because it's from the earth. But if I want to lie, then I say, no, it means, Jerusalem, the land there. So it's an issue of language, and the solution is in the Quran to show these criminals who are changing God's word. That's the solution. Now, the fact that the meaning keeps changing is also in your benefit, because the Jewish claim is clear. This is our temple, this is the boundaries, this is what we claim. But the Islamists, their claim is not clear. One side says Al-Aqsa, one side says the whole Temple Mount, one side says the whole of Jerusalem, and that's not enough. They want to wipe out the whole population from the river to the sea. So what exactly is your claim? They don't know.
It would seem that the mob, the pro-Palestinian mob led by leftists and Islamists, has decided to start what we're seeing as a global intifada. The rallies recently in the States and some here are not only claiming 2 states, they're now saying take back to 48. So what should have been contained in the Middle East is no more in the Middle East. It really has international implications now. Can we talk about what might be a response here, where we are not familiar with the Quran and the arguments that you make, which are so clear, Imam, but how would we deal with that here? How can we present that here? The people that are calling for this radical destruction of Israel are not calling for democracy or women's rights or gay rights or anybody's rights. They don't seem to care if nobody has rights. That's not what they're about. They're just simply about destroying Israel.
Of course. Whenever people ask me why we don't let the Palestinians come back, the right of return to the state of Israel. So I say I'm fully for the right of return. Fully. I'm for the right of the return of all the Arabs to the Arab Peninsula, where they came from in the 7th century to occupy the whole Middle East. I am for the right of return. Definitely. They should return to the Arab Peninsula. They don't deny it. They came from the Arab Peninsula in the 7th century under the leadership of Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second caliph, and occupied Iraq, occupied what today Iraq, Iran, the Middle East entirely, North Africa. Okay, I'm for the right of return. Yes, if go back, why to 48? Why not to the 7th century?
But is there not a belief or a principle or a precept in Islam that once a land is occupied by Muslims, it must always stay within Muslim hands?
It doesn't make a difference. That's an internal belief. That's an internal belief. What we believe is I cannot make your foreign policy in line with what I believe. I believe that on the Day of Judgment, just before the Day of Judgment, there's going to be a savior. He's going to be Muslim. He's going to bring victory, the Islamic way, justice, the Muslim way. To you, that means nothing. You know what I mean? So believing that Muslim land must stay Muslim land is an internal belief. It may happen and it may not happen, like we saw with the Ottomans. The one issue. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I'm interested in your response.
I wanted to say that the right of return would be more than the Arab land. It would also be back to the Roman lands and the Tartar and where the Gypsies came from, because Palestinians are not Arabs. And the Arabs who are in Palestine, they don't belong there. They have no right to claim. I have clarified this many times.
Names of many Palestinians. Masri means the Egyptian. Masarwa, Egyptians. Horani means someone who came from the Horan in Syria. Karaki, from Karak in Jordan. Sidawi, from Sidon in Lebanon, Sorani from Tyre in Lebanon, Nak,
Sarsur. You forgot Sarsur.
where is from?
Sarsur.
Yes, but where they are from? Where are
It
they
means
from?
cockroach.
Okay,
In
but
Arabic, we don't have an Arabic tribe called cockroach. We don't have.
So where would Sarsur be from originally?
I don't know. Ask her. I don't, the Romans or the Gypsies or the Circassians or Mongols, the
You know,
nations who were in that region.
there is a big family in the north here in Israel named Bushnak. Bushnak means somebody who came from Bosnia, from what was Yugoslavia. They were brought by the Ottomans. Okay, so the whole country means the Arab sector here in Israel, their names testify that many of them, I would say most of them, are not originally Palestinian. So definitely we should support the right of return to Syria, to Yugoslavia, to Bosnia, to wherever they come from. And their names are still testifying where they come from. So if to talk about right of return, why 48? Why not the 20s or the 30s when they came from wherever they came? This is, telling history might be rather tendentious, but learning and talking about the history, of course, why deny? Look, you know what? Let me show you something. The idea of the Umayyads to sanctify Jerusalem, I believe, was a Jewish idea in those days, because Jews wanted to have Jerusalem again as a central life for monotheistic religions. So why not? If the Muslims were viewed as saviors, because the Christians who were in this country until the 7th century did not allow the Jews to go to Jerusalem for hundreds of years. So Jews actually convinced the Umayyads to sanctify Jerusalem on the expense of Mecca in order to divert the Hajj to Jerusalem. How do I know? Look at this. This is a copy of a coin which I received. And this coin, I'll show you the coin. Look very well.
It's got a menorah.
In Arabic, it says La ilaha illallah. On the other side, it says O Muhammad Rasulullah. Means no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. And as you noticed, the menorah. And this is a coin which was minted by the Umayyads. And it shows so clearly the combination between Jewish beliefs about Jerusalem and the Umayyad way of conduct vis-a-vis Ahl al-Bayt, means the people of the family of Muhammad who remained in Mecca and kept claiming that Mecca is the holy place and not Jerusalem. So we actually now in a debate between Ahl al-Bayt, means those who remained loyal to the family of Muhammad, including the Shia, who kept considering Mecca and Medina as the holy places, while the Umayyads who settled in this region, and another clan of the same tribe, from the Quraysh tribe, actually took Jerusalem or claimed that Jerusalem is the holy place and not Mecca. And this debate is until this very day. The Saudis, for example, who are not Shia, who are Sunnis, actually follow Ibn Taymiyyah, who knew everything about this fake news about Jerusalem by the Umayyads, and he actually banned the pilgrimage to the Hajj to Jerusalem. This is why the Saudis are claiming today that Al-Aqsa is in Jordan, where it was originally when the ayah of the Quran was given to Muhammad, when he dreamt about this. And the whole thing about coming to Jerusalem, to the Al-Aqsa was a dream. And even according to Islamic sources, it was a ru'ya. Ru'ya means a vision, a night vision. It was not in real. What? Is there a horse with wings somewhere in the world? No, there is no horse with a wing. So it was a dream or a vision. Okay, everybody can dream, even the prophet. So this is actually the 7th century. And unfortunately, today's disputes between the Jews and the Sunni Muslims and some Shia as well are around all these messy issues of the 7th century.
Why is this debate not more public, not proclaimed? Why is the original belief not known? And those who understand that Al-Aqsa isn't in Jerusalem, why are they not regarded as the source of truth? Why did Iran decide to declare in 79 that, that they claim Jerusalem?
Because the world today is not divided between truth and lie. The world today has narratives. There are different narratives. Everyone has his right to have his own narrative. There is no truth anymore, and there is no lie anymore. Everybody can concoct a story, make face as if he believes in it, and now the whole world has to believe in this as well. Why? This is his narrative. And this is the postmodernism. And unfortunately, we are facing this issue. Denying the existence of false and truth and believe that everybody has his right to believe in whatever he believes.
Imam, as a member of the Global Imams Council, is that not a body that is significantly informed and powerful to speak this truth?
Well, the fact that I haven't been summoned or disciplined in any way shows that I'm not lying. If I was lying, I'd be in front of the board the next day. But again, I'm not speaking from Mars or Jupiter. I'm here. I meet with them. I go and come. We travel together. They know very well what I say. I say it in Arabic. I say it in English. I say it in Farsi. And I travel around the world and I speak and I write articles. And none of my views are hidden. The fact that I haven't been expelled, I haven't been disciplined, I haven't been, nothing has happened to me. I haven't been sanctioned. I haven't been warned. Never received a complaint from the governing board. Shows you that there is no lie. Where's the lie? Because
My
again,
question
imams,
is-
you cannot tell an imam I can't have an opinion. The only
My
time
question is, why doesn't the governing body speak this?
because
like,
they're in
issue-
Iraq. Because they're in Iraq, and because they have members in countries where they'll get punished. You know, they'll get punished. Maybe they'll get punished for what I'm saying now, but we have no problem. The fact that, let me tell you, the council does push the limit. I mean, they adopted the IRA definition of anti-Semitism. That's a big issue.
Absolutely.
You have the religious advisor for the prime minister of Iraq on the governing board, and they adopted it. I mean, what more can they do? The only thing left is to raise the Israeli flag. They're not going to do that. They're not political. But no. The fact that I do what I do and I say what I say without any problems from the council, it means that I'm not lying. If I lie, they can punish me, but I'm not lying. So that's one thing. I wanted to comment on land ownership in Islam, and also which shares common ground with international law. So we believe that land can be claimed through 4 ways. There's no other way. 4 ways. 1, God gives you the land. 2, you are indigenous to the land. So before religions came to the region, you were indigenous to the land, like the Indian Americans and the Aboriginals in Australia. They are indigenous to the land. Or God gives you the land, such as God giving Moses the Holy Land in our book, in the Quran, ordering him to go, and the Jews, the nations of Israel. And this was given to the Jews. Or when the Prophet Muhammad came to Mecca, this was given to the Muslims, according to our belief. The 3rd way is through purchasing land. If you purchase land, you can claim it. That we believe in. And the 4th way is cultivation. When land is not owned by anyone, terra nullius, and you cultivate it, you farm or you construct. That is in our Islamic terms. And international law, this is what the British did when they took over Australia. They said it's terra nullius, it's empty land. There's no buildings, no cultivation, we took it. But later on, the courts proved that there was existing civilization for the Aboriginal people, even though there was no skyscrapers or anything like that. There is proof of existence of a civilization. So they ruled against the terra nullius, that terminology, that concept of empty land. But look at the Palestinian claim. The Palestinians, there's no indigenous to the land. There's no indigenous to the land. The only indigenous to the land is the Palestinian whose origin is Jewish. So throughout time, they converted to Islam. And this person, or these people, I think they're 20% of the Palestinians who are originally Jewish, I believe, more or less. They changed their identity, not the identity of the land. Tomorrow, the whole of Saudi Arabia can become Buddhist. Mecca is still Muslim land. If you change your religion, you change your identity. You don't change the identity of the land. That's according to how we see things. I don't care about the West. I care about the book I will be judged with, the Quran and Islam. That's it. If the whole of Mecca tomorrow becomes Hindu, Mecca is still Muslim land. So if the whole of the Jews convert to Islam, the land is still Jewish land. God gave it to Moses and his people. So these are the very important claims. If there are Arabs in that region making a claim that the cause Al-Qadiyya Arabiya, the cause is an Arabic cause, then they are very confused because they do not belong there. Their tribes are elsewhere, as Dr. Mordechai said. And if you buy land, you can claim the land, no problem. Many Muslims own land in Israel. Many of my friends who are Muslims in Akko, and they own land, and there's no problem. You can live there. You follow the law, you live there. And again, the fourth way we said was cultivation. So if they say, like Sheikh Jarrah, for example, they say, but we built and we cultivated and we created civilization. Yeah, you did on other people's land. The same situation as Australia. The British came on other people's land, they built a country. So it doesn't make it theirs. That's why today, before every presentation, before every event, we have to acknowledge the indigenous owners of the land. That's our tradition, before anything. So Sheikh Jarrah and Silwan, all of that, the court wasting their time. The place had an owner and they took the place from the owner. The owners are the Jews. In fact, again, these are Islamic principles. Maybe they don't work in Israel. But we need to understand, when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, went to war or went to travel, he would not fight on land he didn't own. He would purchase the land and then fight on it in case someone dies and is buried in that area. You cannot be buried in a place you do not own. You cannot use water which you do not own, even to wash yourself before prayer, unless it's public water like a river or a stream. But I cannot walk into your house and pray without your permission to pray on your property. That is law. That is Islamic jurisprudence. Maybe Judaism has something similar, I don't know. But I cannot go to your house and pray knowing that you don't want me there. It's not allowed. And I cannot use your water without your permission in order to pray. So all of these need to be clarified. Here we have the caliphs, whether we follow them or not, regardless of denomination, it is a fact. They put the city under siege, Jerusalem, and they built a mosque on land already owned by Jews. So how am I supposed to pray there without the Jewish permission? This is pure jurisprudence. I don't care about politics. I don't care about what the Waqf authority says, what the Jordanians say. I don't care. We have laws. If you own the land and you don't want me there, then I cannot pray on it. That's the law. I can twist and turn all I like, but the law will never change. That is what God said, and that's how the Prophet behaved. Today we're in Muharram. On the 10th of Muharram, that's the Islamic month, and the first Islamic month. On the 10th of Muharram, Muslims mourn the death and martyrdom of Hussein, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad. He died in Karbala. The whole of Karbala was purchased by Hussein before he went to the battlefield. Why? Because he knew he was going to die and he was going to be buried in the city. So you cannot use land that doesn't belong to you if it has an owner without the owner's permission. So the whole claim around Jerusalem is very invalid from an Islamic perspective. Very invalid from a prophetic Sunnah tradition and through Islamic law. I can make many loopholes as I go ahead. I can say, but the Jews, they're enemies of God, have no honor, have no land, have nothing. Their blood is kosher, halal, whatever. I can make loopholes as I go ahead because politics allows it. But if I want to stick to my religion as a religious human being, then my laws do not allow it.
Just before we go to other questions, one that I see in the chat, I think should be answered by both of you. Have you presented have you made your position known, say, at the United Nations? Have you spoken there?
I haven't spoken at the United Nations. This is what I've done. I've worked with many organizations as an advisor who approach me, many politicians. I've spoken in the European Parliament. I've traveled around the world. I've spoken in the Canadian Senate. I've spoken to senators, and Australian Parliament is every now and then. We give submissions, but the reality is, if I'm speaking to someone and they don't listen to me once, I don't speak to them ever again. Because if a politician makes it clear they're not interested in the truth, why waste my time? They're only there for 4 years. They're not there forever. So maybe the one after him will listen. I don't waste my time. But yeah, we do. We speak. We give submissions. We do what we can. The Global Imams Council has applied for consultative status. That might mean I will be appearing there quite often. We do what we can, but the UN is not a credible organization for Muslims. It's not. The Quran is final, not the UN, not the Congress, not Biden, not Trump, only the Quran. That's it. That is true law. The UN can rule whatever it likes. The Quran is the only law that matters to a Muslim. Otherwise, we can talk fairy tales and fantasies for years. But realistically, only the Quran matters, not the UN, none of that.
Anita, would you like to start with a couple of questions?
I would like just to comment
Yes.
here that if somebody goes to the United Nations or other countries today, the language is legal language. People, are much less willing to listen to all kinds of, as the Imam said, fairy tales. And here we have to praise the activity of some people here in Toronto. The Goldie Steiner, the lady who leads the Israel Legal Rights, Canadians for Israel Legal Rights, the late Solomon Ben Zimra, who actually wrote a short book about this, which was translated to Hebrew as well. And of course, the famous lawyer Jacques Gauthier and his activity, and you, Andrea, and then others, and then definitely people who are devoted to this issue of legal rights. And we should repeat this, and we should teach the whole world, because today the legal language is very, very important.
We hear Islamists, Muslims of different backgrounds quoting the Quran and using it to justify violence. These are the types of questions. One person wanted to know, Imam, if you're a minority voice, how do you get others to listen? How do we counter it? How do we enable your voice to ring out to further understanding between Muslims and Jews?
Yeah, that is a very false way to think. Who said we're a minority? How many people are in the UAE? How many people in Kuwait? How many people in Saudi Arabia? You're talking millions of people, Oman, Bahrain, who are all in agreement, or the majority of them. In fact, one Saudi citizen cannot visit Israel if the government doesn't give them the green light. Otherwise, they'd be very punished. The fact that the UAE is normalizing relations with Israel means that Saudi Arabia has given the green light. Saudi Arabia is the real player in the region. There's always been relations, whether hidden or otherwise. Now you see this romance, social romance between the Emiratis and the Israelis, and the visits and come and go. Where did this come from? Where did it come from? I will fit perfectly. They're not a minority. You're talking literally half of the Arab world who understands that the land is Jewish land, and it's about time we started to get along with the Jews in Israel. So there's no problem in that. So we're not a minority. To think that is very unfair. If you look at our social media presence, even when talking about narratives, we make trends around the world. I'm one of the most, in fact, I am the most followed Imam in the West in the history of the internet, literally. There's no Imam in the West with the online following that my pages have, although I haven't been using social media for nearly a year now. But we can make things happen. We're not sitting in a corner with nobody listening to us, that we need our voices to be amplified. No, we can be heard whenever we want to be heard. So I think because the other side is very loud, we tend to think that we need more attention. But no, we can counter it at any time. What we need is coordination. That's exactly what we need. We have the numbers. What we need is unity and coordination. Otherwise, what do they have? They have celebrities. We also have celebrities. They have politicians, we have politicians. They have channels, we have channels. They have influencers, we have influencers. They have a large number of Muslims who are against Israel, or there's a large number of Muslims who is pro-Israel and pro-Jews, and you see them throughout the Gulf, especially after the Abraham Accords. So what is needed is coordination, not numbers. The numbers are there. We just need coordination and unity.
Professor, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, about the Abraham Accords, of course, I fully support this normalization with Israel. This is a dream of us Israelis. Yet, I always warn my friends, these accords or these agreements with the Gulf Emirates and Bahrain are actually might be reversed by an Iranian pressure, if there is a pressure like this. Because the Iranians might wake up one morning and tell the Emiratis, hey guys, look at what we did to the Saudis at night of the 14th of September 2019. Just to remind you, the Iranians launched drones and missiles and destroyed like half of the Saudi oil production capacity in one night without any notice, without anything. And this, by the way, in my humble view, what deterred Saudi Arabia from joining the Abraham Accords, because they remember what happened by the Iranians at that dark night. The Emiratis and the Bahrainis will not sacrifice themselves and their oil production industry on the altar of the relations of Israel if the Iranians will tell them to cancel those accords, or otherwise they will cancel. So, as happy as I am about these accords, yet I am afraid that with possibly American encouragement, the Iranians will push the Emiratis and the Bahrainis to cancel these accords, or to reduce, or to do something against it.
We're after the fact now, so maybe we just have a final remark from Imam Mohammad.
I have a question for Dr. Mordechai since he's here, and it's about a conversation that's been going on for a while, but I get many questions about it, and it's the third temple. Okay, I know that its significance, it will happen in the future. That's fine, but I'm going to share something, if I may. If you can see this, so is this the region where the Temple Mount is imagined to be constructed in the future, or will it take some of the homes or the area? How will it work? Is this the area that's believed to be the place for the third temple?
Well, to tell you the truth, I have no idea. All I know is where was the location of the two first temples. It was actually under the golden dome, which you can see, which is the Dome of the Rock. More or less at that point, more or less in this location, was the first temple and the second temple. The third temple, we believe, that will descend from heaven complete, and God, who is Almighty, will do it by himself without any human effort or human action. And this is why we do nothing against the Dome of the Rock and against the mosque, which is in the south part, with the silver dome in the lower part. So nothing against these things. We have no plan to do anything to these things, because when God we decide that this is the time to send down the third temple, he will do it by himself. After all, he is Almighty. Why we don't do anything? We don't hasten the end of time, and we actually leave this whole thing to God.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I have a question. The Dome of the Rock, as a building, does it have any religious significance to you?
Yes.
Or just the location?
The location, since it was the first and the second temple, we do not go there, because in order to enter the temple, a man or a woman had to be purified in a certain way, which today we cannot follow. So since we cannot purify ourselves in the appropriate way, which would enable us and allow us to go into the temple, if we go there, we go only around the walls, the western wall on the left side, the eastern wall on the right side of the picture, the southern wall in the lower part, and the northern wall, which is up. And we go along the walls. We are not entering the center of the court, because this is actually where the temple was, in that place.
Okay, because what I was thinking was there is no issue, there is no clash whatsoever for a temple to exist beside the mosque, because it's nowhere near it. You see what I mean? There's nowhere near it. But if we just say that God is going to reveal a temple, then no believer can disagree. God's going to do it. God will do whatever he likes. For many people, they think that it's going to be built or that it will exist. The issue is wiping out any Jewish presence because they believe this is Muslim land. That's the issue. But in reality, the mosque is here. This entire place is not holy in Islam. This Dome of the Rock is an obstacle. It's a historical issue in the way of peace. This is how you have a theory about the Emirates, the Palestinian areas to be ruled like the Emirates, right? This is one of my theories. This is a problem. This is not holy, the building in Islam. In fact, many Muslims think this is Al-Aqsa Mosque. They don't know this is Al-Aqsa Mosque. They think that's the Aqsa Mosque. So
Well,
a temple can exist here peacefully, right beside the mosque. No problem, right?
well,
The so-called
I'm not the
Aqsa Mosque.
planner. I'm not the planner of the place. And when God decides to send down the third temple, he will put in the right location. Believe me.
No,
So
I
just a
have
quick
no objection.
question to follow up
But
on that, Imam. Are you suggesting that the building that has the Dome of the Rock would not need to continue to stand and that would satisfy the Jews and the Muslims?
no, it's the mosque that's holy.
Yeah, so
Not
leaving the mosque, obviously it's far away, but the Dome of the Rock itself, you're saying is not that sacred place, so it could be re-anointed
location.
as a Jewish place.
The location is sacred. The location, but the building is not.
Okay, understood.
The location is. And if the location is sacred, then it's not sacred because it's Islamic. It's sacred because it's Abrahamic.
Got it.
The
Yes,
same way Jerusalem was our first direction of prayer.
right.
By the
So
way, the
it
Dome of
can
the
be
Rock,
under or within a temple. No problem.
It could be reconsecrated. That
the
would be a
Dome of the Rock,
solution.
the Dome of the Rock was built by the Umayyads in order to be just like the Kaaba in Mecca, to go around the Tawaf, means the
Yeah.
Hakafu, as we say in Hebrew. And those people did not know how to build a dome. So they actually, the Umayyads stole a dome, a golden dome, not this, not a different one, from a church in Baalbek. It's in Lebanon today. And they forced the Christians to dismantle the dome from the church, and they brought it to Jerusalem, and they put it on the there in the Dome of the Rock, so people can go around it instead of going to Mecca to go around the Kaaba. The golden cover today was done by Hussein, the late king of Jordan, after the peace agreement in 1994, because he wanted to show himself as the custodian of the Al-Aqsa, parallel to the Saudis, who are the custodians of the two holy places, Mecca and Medina. So this is how state and church, state and mosque are intertwined here in the Middle East, unlike the situation in other places like Canada, United States, and others. This is the East. This is the culture. This is the mindset, and this is the behavior. Political is religious. Religious is economic. Economic is social. Everything is one solid of issues, unlike the separation of religion from anything else as it is in Western societies. This is why many Muslims hate the West, because of this idea of separation between state and mosque.